33. Massive game, massive game. All right, back to back to back. Here we go. Straight on to the interview. We're not wasting time here, folks. We're just going straight in. I see nominated MP Jennifer Shamala is already in the house.
Yes, I am.
You've been here waiting very patiently.
For my friend.
Where is your
boss.
friend, by the way? Where is the boss?
I was going to call her, and then you just came on.
Showed up.
Yeah.
She should be here any minute. How are you doing?
Are you sure you spoke to her?
Yeah, I spoke to her earlier.
How are you?
Yeah, very good.
Wonderful.
You look great.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
You.
Appreciate it.
It's an honor. Thank you for inviting me.
I appreciate your coming.
Inviting me.
So we go straight into it. Shall we do that? All right. So, look.
We're not on air yet.
We are on air.
Oh.
Yeah, we're live.
Oh, all right. They can hear the conversation?
They could hear everything.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. There are no breaks in this. We're going straight through.
I can tell.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. The spat between the president and his deputy, it's getting very ugly, isn't it? Let's face it, it's getting really ugly.
Yes, yes, and it's not a time, an election. We have to understand that elections are neither do nor die, and we've been through enough multi-party elections, and we've got to get to a stage where we recognize each of the candidates as worthy opponents, not as or competitors, not as enemies. Yes. We don't know where it's coming from, but what I think it's important and what it is to say to Kenyans is that at the end of the day, life goes on. There's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser.
Yeah.
But it's about worthy opponents. It's not about enmity.
But when you hear leaked audio is being played at rallies, I mean, isn't this getting very petty at this stage? And you hear that the deputy president wanted to slap the president at one point.
Yes, yes. Like I said, it is getting, unfortunately, ugly, and it shouldn't be ugly. It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And what should they do? They're supposed to be our leaders, right? What should they do? I mean, should they tone it down? Should they just, because it's not likely to get any better, huh?
I think what's important, here she is.
She's right on time. She's right on time.
Here she is.
Are you on air? We're already on air. We're already on air.
We're on air.
Go on. What should they do, Jennifer?
It's like we came from the same house. Look at the colors.
No, they're all matching. What do you think?
What do I think about?
They should do as leaders.
I think what's important is ultimately we as the people should recognize and that this is not a do or die competition. This is an election between different camps, yes? And as people, I would just, yes, it is extremely unfortunate. I think, comments like the president used to wake up after, what time did they say they woke up?
Whatever time.
Whatever time.
Yeah.
I think the person best placed to tell us when the president wakes up is the First Lady, number one. Number two is the issue of... now, this phone of mine is ringing and it's distracting me, so if somebody could take it away, yes, and I don't forget
Eric.
it, yes, please, yes. Is this, so if the president wakes up at 9 a.m., he's the president of the Republic of Kenya.
Correct.
He converses with world leaders worldwide.
Correct.
There's issues of time differences. So if I need to speak to President Biden, and we remember President who is the first African president to have met with President Biden, he'll do it on American time. So issues like this, to a certain extent, are extremely petty, and I just hope that the people of Kenya don't get sucked into it.
Yeah.
We cannot afford, we've had enough multi-party democracy elections, and we can't afford to go into a polluted, poisonous atmosphere.
Gladys, good to see you. Thanks so much for your time. By the way, you are on time. I did tell you to come at 10 o'clock, right? Remember?
Yeah.
So you are perfectly on time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I was wondering what happened to me. I thought I stuck to time.
She did.
Thank you so much for your time. We were actually talking about the leaked audio tape and how, the spat between the president and his deputy has deteriorated to such a low level. Mm-hmm. Your thoughts about that?
I think if you watch what happened from the beginning, the Deputy President has been extremely measured over the years since 2018 and has completely not taken into any provocation. But I think slowly I saw the provocation develop. And right now during campaign season, I'm a politician, so I know someone can say something to me that I don't respond to, because I have supporters also to keep keeping the faith. And so I believe that the bad behavior was started by Uhuru Kenyatta. During the Sagana, he went on and on about his deputy didn't help me and so on. During the Jubilee, the launch of the Jubilee manifesto, instead of telling Kenyans what Jubilee will do for Kenyans as a party and what it stands for, instead he took time to say that Raila Odinga has helped him, Ruto didn't help him, and that's why he had to work with this gentleman to assist him. So he basically used the opportunity in a national delegates conference to talk about his deputy. I was extremely disappointed the other day when during the cooperatives launch, he spoke in an extremely unpresidential manner. His demeanor and gestures were unbecoming of a head of state and a commander-in-chief of the armed forces. As a Kenyan, I was terribly embarrassed. He was waving his hands. By the time a president says, kama bibi mtu amekunyang'anya bibi yako, enda tafuta mwingine. I mean, that is so unpresidential. And you know what? He's the president. It's his call to behave properly. By the time the president uses words like nye, nye, nye in a public function, in front of a podium of a head of state, that is unbecoming behavior. So you know what? By the time and I'm responding to him now. Why? Because as a Kenyan, he's my head of state. He owes me to behave presidential. He carries the most powerful seat in the country. We voted for him. We respected him. All we are asking him to do is respect that seat that Kenyans have given him and that honor. So yes, we are entitled to respond to him.
Yes.
And when our president is dishonest, for example, when he says with the KEMSA COVID billionaires, he told us, he held a press conference, again standing in front of the podium of the head of state and commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Republic of Kenya. He said to us, in 21 days, I shall give you a report. We are still waiting. We are entitled as Kenyans to demand it, and we are entitled to respond to our head of state.
Okay, what about when the deputy president, the second most powerful man in Kenya, says that he felt like slapping his boss at one point?
Okay, that is an audio that is attributed to Junet Mohammed.
But he admitted, he responded to it.
Yes. I'm saying it was an audio run by Junet Mohammed. First of all, I think if you've read Proverbs 27, verse 6 to 16, it says, a slap from a friend is better than a kiss from an enemy. So you know what? I wish I had friends like William Ruto who would slap me and say, Gladys, wake up. Pull yourself together. Stand up and go get a hold of yourself. I've had times when my own family, I was charged with corruption, I was fired. It was a low time in my life. But I had people around me who loved me enough to say, you know what, Gladys, you're not giving up. Pick yourself up and go forward. So every friend needs. Hold on, Jennifer. You were talking when I came.
I know, but
and you're my good friend. Haven't seen. No, you've been here forever.
No, I haven't.
I found you with Jeff. I don't know what you've been talking about on TV all this time, as I was waiting in the boardroom, in the waiting room. So I said. And first of all, also look at it in the context that, you know, it's an African expression. When I say, neza kukuchapa coffee. It doesn't mean I'm chappering you coffee or that I will do it. It's an expression of anger. I am disappointed in you. Come on, get your act together. There's nothing wrong with saying that. So if you look at it in the context of the way we speak, I don't think any of us have not said that to someone or other in our lives.
Okay, but my question is, friendships, if you and I are really good friends, we've laughed together, we've cried together. Have you ever heard me going to discuss you outside of the moments we've been together?
No, you know, the thing is, No, Jennifer.
That's what real friends do.
No.
Now, what was
Jennifer,
the
who did he...
and what was the motive?
No, do you know who he was talking to?
somebody who taped him.
No, but I'm just saying.
Recorded him.
Exactly, but I just said, between you and me and Jeff, we do not know who he was speaking to. Maybe he was speaking to Uhuru Kenyatta's brother. Maybe he was speaking to Uhuru Kenyatta's mother. Maybe he was speaking to his cousins and close confidants. It is normal when they come and ask you what actually transpired. It is okay. You can say that. It was not said in a public podium. It obviously sounded like a private conversation. I'm not privy to who was present. So you cannot judge that until you actually know the context in which it was said. Someone can ask me, if a member of your family said, what really happened to Jennifer on this? And if I feel sufficiently that they're close to you, because as a friend, I know who to say certain things to. And maybe you're not saying the details, but saying this is what transpired. So I think let's not judge that. And I don't want to judge there. But what I know is that it was not. It was a private, it most likely was a private conversation. Someone recorded it without, unbeknown to him. And whoever recorded it, because I always say people who record private conversations must really have their own motives. And then it sounded like it's a conversation from way back. Why has the person kept it until just now when it's 30-something days to the elections?
But the deputy president didn't deny it, right? He didn't deny it.
Yeah.
He said he was, he was very annoyed. He was, he was pushing the president. He didn't want the president to lose, that position.
And I think if any of you saw the time after immediately the Supreme Court nullified the elections, you have videos of the president making his statement saying that this has happened, you've nullified it, and so on. He was in a suit, he made a statement, and then after that he went to Githurai. And we all know how he spoke at Githurai. He was unhinged. So, yes, if that was my friend doing that in Githurai, I would have, said, come on, we can't be doing this. Let's just go back and to sit for the elections. And now, if I recall back, and I think Jennifer remembers this, we all soon were called back to State House, as a parliamentary group meeting, and we were told, guys,
go out.
It doesn't matter how bad we feel about this. You're 177 members of parliament affiliated to Jubilee. You cannot have a president who's a minority. So it is your duty and your obligation for all of you to go out and campaign. And we did. So yes, all of us had to talk to ourselves.
Can I chip in?
Go on.
No,
go
because
on,
that's been 10 minutes.
A good welcome.
Yes. Whatever we have felt, whatever I've been with friends, I have never felt like slapping them, especially when your friend is down and out. Your reaction is not to want to tell them, I'm going to slap you.
No, did you say I'm going to slap you? I felt like.
It's indicative of a personality type, okay? I mean, we're friends. I have had disagreements with friends, but the reaction is not that I'm going to slap you.
Yeah.
Yes, I find that a bit disturbing and worrying, very worrying, especially if really your friend is down and out. Is your reaction going to be, I'm going to slap you, I felt like slapping him? I doubt.
No, it's an expression. You see, the problem is Jennifer, I know her, doesn't quite speak Kiswahili. Yeah, you know, she's a private school girl.
Oh, yes?
Grew up in the city, you know, that kind of girl. Yeah. So the thing is, I know Jennifer doesn't understand that expression.
I don't
we use it all the time.
What is it?
We all the time use it in the village.
Really?
Nilisikia kukuchapa coffee. Yes.
Really? Really?
Yeah, Jennifer, you don't use that expression.
No,
that's why I know you've said it.
I don't buy that. I don't. When we're talking about...
It's an expression.
There's a play situation, okay? And there's a situation where your friend is really... the right honourable... The right honourable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga has lost elections. He's been really down. I doubt any of his colleagues said, okay, from this we've got to go on, we've got to go to the Supreme Court, get yourself together or I'm going to slap you. I doubt it.
You didn't say, no.
Jennifer,
that's what I'm saying, you're misconstruing the expression. The expression is not, I'm going to slap you. It says, I felt like slapping you.
Okay, I felt like
and then, okay, Jeff, I hope I didn't come on the show to come and talk about gossip.
No, in fact,
of an event that we weren't even there. There's more serious things happening in Kenya. There's there's a judgment about elections. It's going to put the Electoral Commission a quagmire. I think Kenyans want to hear that.
So
Can I be Jeff?
We move on from slapping, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about that judgment then. You heard that today, right?
Actually, no, I didn't hear anything.
So now,
I was busy on something else.
Okay,
yes.
Court rules that the candidates who ran for president don't need to submit 48,000 signatures and copies from around the counties.
They need to submit the names with signatures, but they don't need to submit the copies of the IDs.
Yes, I heard that.
Yes,
I heard that.
Yeah.
So that throws the whole presidential race in a quagmire, or, I mean, what does that do? Because Reuben Kigame has already said he wants to be included.
Yeah, I think we don't know how IEBC is going to deal with it at the moment.
Yeah.
We don't know if they're going to appeal
we
don't know if they're going to appeal the decision. But also, when judges are making decisions, they should take, that's why there's something called taking judicial notice of certain circumstances and events in the country. We know that IEBC has to print ballot papers. They've already sent out the designs. The pictures have been confirmed. I know by now, having worked at the Electoral Commission, the samples are ready, should be ready, and confirmation and verification should be ongoing by now. They're quite late. It's 33 days to the elections, and we are not taking into account the shipping, landing into Nairobi, the distribution to the various parts of the country. So IEBC has to look. If I was working in IEBC, and I've done that before, you present all your timelines on a Gantt chart, and you can tell yourself, this is achievable, this is not achievable. And with that, they can go to court and tell the court, you can make, the court can make a decision, but say it's applicable in the next election.
Right.
If they find that's not deliverable in this election. So I think the courts will be reasonable about it. If I was running IEBC, I would look at my timelines. If it doesn't work with my timelines, I will appeal. And the minimum I'll be asking the court is, we can abide by your order, but can it take effect at the next election or subsequent by-elections? That's the only reasonable thing, because the country needs to go to an election.
Exactly.
Printing that number of ballot papers is not easy.
It's not easy.
And I think, it's in really bad taste that people are taking cases. They had so much time. These regulations have been available to all of us all this time. If you wanted to go to court, you could. And that's why I'm saying I'm reading a sinister motive. If you remember, prior to 2017, there were 48 cases around election regulations taken against IEBC. IEBC was in such a state of confusion that they didn't answer to some of them. The nullification of the 2017 case was based on the Minor Kiai case and the Katiba Institute case, because no one appealed against it, and it turned out to be a regulation. Now all that's happening is the same thing. It's almost like terrorizing the Electoral Commission before it runs the election. You're going to leave them tattered and exhausted and not have time to do their main work. And so I read very bad faith in some of these cases, and I will give you an example. When Martha was nominated as the deputy running mate for Raila Odinga, I started seeing big billboards with her picture with Raila. I remember telling somebody, and many people, I said, that's not good voter education. You don't put the picture of someone who's not going to be on the ballot, because good voter education is you keep the same picture that will be on the ballot. So I said, that's a bit strange. But when I heard about the court case that demanding that the picture of the deputy running mate be on the ballot, I told myself, no wonder their billboards were running like that. I'll just finish that so that you can respond better.
Yes.
Go on.
Because if you listen to me, then you can respond, because I know you'll counter it. Yeah. So they put it. So there's a court case on that. Then now there's a court case on the issue of the register. But I think I wanted to respond on the issue, the first one, before I go into that second point. And so if you knew you would have a running mate, why did you not go to court 6 months ago? or a year ago. Why wait until the last minute?
Okay, fine.
But it's because their own polls showed that Uhuru Kenyatta was not sellable in central Kenya. So they thought if they use Martha Karua's image, he might be sellable. Okay. So he's using Martha Karua as a crutch.
Can I interject? Can you moderate?
She's his crutch. Yeah. He's hiding behind her.
The most important phrase that Mheshimiwa used is vote. That's not good voter education. Civic education is extremely important for any election, and the civic education and your deputy is as important as the presidential candidate. So if I want to vote for somebody, I've got to look at the presidential candidate, the deputy candidate, the party aspirants for members of parliament, the Senate, etc. In civic education, all those factors matter. So it is important that this is me, I'm the presidential candidate, this is my running mate. Yeah. So when it comes to civic education, it is crucial. And I think it is important that you have, and I think that's one of the progressive steps that have been taken, that you have the picture of the presidential and the deputy the deputy president as well.
And governors as well, that should be?
Yeah. Well, you can't. The problem is how many pictures. Governors is a county-specific election. This is a national election. MPs are a constituency-specific election. So if you can have pictures of all the MPs which one has, and their party symbols, then you must have the picture of the deputy and the incoming and the president.
Okay, I'll tell you something, Jeff. And when I speak on this, I'm not speaking as a politician. I'm speaking as an election manager, having done it. Most of the systems in IEBC, I designed them and my team at the time, because we came in after the Kriegler Commission of Inquiry. The Kriegler Commission was the most comprehensive assessment of our electoral system. They came up with certain things that must be done. So a lot of what you see now in the electoral system were as a result of recommendations under the Kriegler Commission of Inquiry. So the issue is even the designing to have just the president's picture on it is because there's a cost implication when you put two pictures. There's the size of the ballot paper.
Well, now there's a cost implication with this recent ruling as well.
Yes, and I'm just saying is that at the time, our elections are probably the most expensive elections in the world. Yeah. Reason being, you have a biometric system that has 10 fingerprints, not one. Most of the top insurance companies just have 2 fingerprints. Kenya, we have 10 fingerprints. We have your facial features, and they have details of the pupil of your eye. That is the most technology-heavy system that you can have.
Yeah. But what is wrong with having the hard copy register? There's nothing.
I will explain. We can. Do you want us to discuss the hard copy register?
I was just about to ask, because you were part of the IEBC, right? You heard what the former Prime Minister said today. No manual register, no elections.
Yes.
That's what he said today.
I think Raila is being Raila. In Kiswahili we say anacheza kama yeye. He's just being him. I'm not surprised. He begins to call ultimatums. Remember, this is the same Raila who said no IEBC, no elections, no IEBC. He's been doing that. He's rioted. He's the one who told his people.
By the way,
hold on.
If we want to
my turn. Let's just say. Okay. I'm just saying. This is my opening statement. And then he's the same one who told his people don't boycott. I think he's going into panic mode and is beginning to raise the issues. But I can tell you something about the register. What type of register are we talking about? Because 7 days to elections, the register is put at the polling station. The printout is hung at the polling station so that anyone can go and check if I'm registered. It's called a truncated register, which means it just has your names. The actual register will have your names, your ID card number, and your voting area. The reason why no one wants the ID the one with the ID numbers in the polling station is because your ID card number can be used to retrieve your data from the KIMS kit. Yes? So, yes. No. I know this.
Go on.
Yes, so Kenyans must know this. The printed manual register without your identity cards, the truncated register as they call it in elections, is hung at the polling stations for 7 days before polling. At the polling day, unless IEBC has changed the rules, but what I know is that that same register is in the polling station every time you vote.
If I
and
can
the reason why,
yes,
I know,
yes,
we have to, we've got to make this clear that, and so what happens when your biometrics are picked up from the KIMS kit, the clerk who has that truncated register ticks it off as an accounting document. It is part of the documentation that you file when you file your diary for the day.
May I respond?
So now what we are asking, are they telling us...
the issue of Raila is just being Raila. We had an election in 2007 where the Right Honourable Raila Odinga lost. There were riots in Kibra. There was rioting and demonstrations in Kisumu. Where was the post-election violence? Where was the post-election violence? It was in the Rift Valley.
Correct.
It wasn't in Raila's strongholds like Kibra and Nyanza.
What's your point?
So, my point is, she said Raila's just been Raila. He complains. He goes every election. He disputes, etc. The 2007 election where he lost, okay, the election violence was not in. That's not Raila being Raila, okay.
Those are not his supporters. Were they his voters?
They were.
They were his supporters. So
they were.
Why pick out?
The point is, I'm stating facts.
Why are you picking out?
I'm stating facts.
Rift Valley.
There's 2007 because that's where the violence broke out in the Rift Valley.
But they were Raila's supporters.
Yes, but his supporters in Nyanza didn't kill. There was no post-election violence in Nyanza. There was no post-election violence in Kibra.
What's your point?
What's your point?
My point is that I take offense to her saying Raila is just being
so
Raila.
You're defending Raila.
Yes,
That's fine.
I'm defending Raila.
Okay.
Yes, I'm defending him.
So, coming back to the manual...
Let's go back to the register.
Yeah.
So if I finish the important point that I also believe, and I come to this station, is to educate Kenyans. So we've said that we have the register as an accounting document. What I find objectionable, and which the reason why Chebukati in the first place has said, I don't want a manual register in the station as an alternative for voting, he means what he says, the one without the ID cards. Because what should usually happen, and this has happened in the past, and again, Chebukati is free to make the rules. Tomorrow there's a meeting with IEBC. I will be present there and I'll hear what they say.
Okay, but
because usually what should happen is that IEBC sets clear guidelines and that says if somebody's details are not found through the biometric identification kit, then there is a presiding officer in the station who has extra rights and credentials to have the system open up and search the person in the country-wide register, find their name, their ID card number in the electoral area. It usually will not have your biometric data because it's too heavy for the system.
I have a question
so
that
what
I want to be educated on.
Can I finish?
You did say that if you put the ID card number at the polling station, it can be used to enter the KIMS kit. So what is to stop somebody who has the entire voter register with the ID numbers from not entering the KIMS kit?
I'm telling you a process of how it works.
I'd like
you see, what makes the system the system safe is the protocols. So let's put it this way. The KIMS kit has the 700 registered voters from that particular polling station. It's in an SD card like your phone.
Right.
Which means I can search them and get, all their biometric data is on it. In the event that someone comes to vote and shows their ID, puts their fingers, they'll try your first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth, 10th finger. So hopefully somebody will have come with no hands and to the polling station, no fingers. What will happen then is there is a senior person at the polling center who will then has credentials to enter into the system. It's like a bank. Only some people can the teller can see so much, the manager can see so much. So then they open up and search in the entire country register. But when they search it, it doesn't have the biometric data because it would be too heavy for a KIMS.
Yeah, but it does have
it does have the name, and the ID card number, and the electoral area. Once they identify that you are there, and it can show your picture, actually, your facial features, in order to be allowed to vote based on that, there is protocols. And there is clear rules on the circumstances under which such a person, hold on, circumstance under which that person can vote, which means you need clearance. And IEBC, when we went to the meetings with IEBC told us only Chebukati can give clearance for such a person to vote.
So
just to finalize. So you see, it goes through a long process, and all agents must accept and must sign. And in any polling station, if that happened, it can be more than 2 or 3 people. So the moment you find a polling station where 50 people can't have their 10 fingerprints identified, then we know cheating is going on. So there is systems that the system checks itself.
Yeah, but my worry is
so what's your worry, Jennifer?
My worry is, is that you said that the reason the ID number is not at the voting station is because anyone can enter the KIMS kit if they have the ID number.
Yes.
That is my concern. You did say it.
Yes.
So if anyone can enter, all the more reason you need the voter register with the ID. Because if anyone can enter, and we want to be able to have the agents verify the people that come to the stations.
Okay, remember so no, that you've taken it a bit too simplistically. The KIMS kit.
Yeah, just educate
No, I'm saying.
Because you did say.
Yes.
Because if you put the ID number there.
Then maybe you didn't understand me well. So what happens is, if you can't be identified by the 10 fingers, even to go to the second and third finger, all agents must accept. So it's not being done in secret by one person. So when you make a decision that you're going to use the identity card, remember someone comes with the identity card too. So if someone comes there and now needs to be searched on the system, we've said only certain cleared officers can do that at a higher level. Clearances have to be sought. All agents in the polling station are notified, and they sign something called a Form 32A. There's a Form 30, so it's recorded. So it's not anyone can enter, because even if somebody has the ID. I probably used. Okay, I apologize. I apologize. It's not anyone. I said there is circumstances and guidelines under which you can fall back on that method. But it's not just using the ID. There is the Form 32A that has to be filled and signed by all agents. It's got to be recorded in the station diary. And it's got clearances, and it's recorded. And then also, you can't just say anyone can enter, because, like I said, it's highly unlikely that more than 3 people out of 700 people in a polling station would not be able to find all their fingerprints on their system.
So what is wrong with the manual register then, Wesh? What is wrong with the manual register?
Because it's still not, you've still not clarified what's wrong with having the manual register there.
Because even when you apply, the IEBC has been clear, and I think Chebukati has said it in the past, it's been said by every electoral manager, even including during our time, when you go to you can go to IEBC and buy the register. But you're given the one that has the names and the electoral area. But it does not have the identity cards.
Right.
It does not have telephone numbers. So for a reason.
Yeah, but telephone numbers.
That's why
data protection and
remember,
data privacy. Yes?
Remember the ID card. The ID card numbers are not put there because not necessary, so that it forces the station to have to seek the clearances, so it's not open to abuse. That's why the one with ID card numbers is open to abuse. And it's not going to be any ID.
What kind of abuse is it open to? Because I come with my ID.
Manipulation.
No, I come with my ID because I can foresee a situation where anybody can come with anybody's ID and vote. Because the number is not there. Do you understand?
Yeah.
I can see a situation like that.
Or
anyone can arrive, or dead people can come, arrive, and anyone come, but the number is not there.
Like I said, and that's a conspiracy theory, we said the reason why we all have agents at a polling station is because at the time of opening the polling station, every agent is shown the empty box. They are given a seal with a serial number that is only unique to each political party.
And the agent knows every voter that is coming into that polling station to vote.
In a polling...
if you can't be verified by the KIMS kit, how do you verify if you don't have the ID number?
The agents in a polling station will be a minimum of 6, usually, because there's 6 ballots. So what happens is that even the law says that when someone comes into the polling station and they put their name is announced. You say Jennifer Shamala.
Yes.
All agents are from that polling station. So they actually know the voters. I know the voters in my polling station. Why? Everybody is a walking distance from their polling station, majority, at least 80%, 90%. So people know each other. So it's not that complex. I've run an election and I know everyone in my polling station and I know everyone in the nearby polling station from my village because they're all people from within there and there's always an average of 5 people per household. So actually when you say 700 people, it's actually divide by 5. It's how many households?
Okay, let's switch from polling on registration to manifestos. Jennifer, you go first. Your thoughts on the manifesto? Are they making any sense?
What makes sense to me is not the manifestos make sense. You read them or you go through them. It is the candidates and their reputations. And at the end of the day, the Kenyan people are not going to vote for the manifesto per se. They're going to look at the candidates and vote for the candidates. They're going to look at the history of the candidates and vote for those candidates. They're going to look at their running mates, which is extremely important, and then vote for the presidential candidate based on the presidential candidate and his running mate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mesh, your thoughts?
I think I think currently in Kenya, the biggest crisis facing Kenya is the cost of living. People remember unga was 75 shillings in 2018. It is now 230 shillings.
It's a crisis facing the entire world. And let me just interject on that. It's a crisis facing the entire world.
Cost of living.
In fact, I even thank Kenyans and I applaud them for being peaceful. In the United Kingdom, some European countries, there were demonstrations on that. There were demonstrations on that. Let us remember there is a war going on between Russia and Ukraine. The oil prices have gone up. And by extension, when oil prices go up, everything goes up.
Jeff,
it has the cost of living in Kenya
now.
Today. No, you spoke 10 minutes straight, so. The cost of living, because we need to it's important, Gladys, that we put things we don't localize everything. It's important that Kenyans understand, and I feel for them, and I feel for all Kenyans, that once the cost of fuel goes up, everything goes up. And the cost of fuel has gone up, and it is due to exterior factors, which is the war between Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah,
so let's put that into context.
But the candidates are promising the world.
No, but you said the cost of living. I'm responding to the issue of the cost of living.
You asked me a question.
And I needed to put that into context. You said since 2018, okay?
Could we say...
Since 2018.
Okay, Jennifer, you simply said that it's not people don't vote for manifestos, that's what you said.
Yes, they don't.
And you said people vote for the candidate.
Yes.
Okay, so just allow me to respond to that.
Track record.
And their track record.
Yeah.
Let me respond to that, and please hold your horses while I say this. And therefore, I'm saying the cost of living is the biggest problem we're having at the moment. Yeah. Hospitalizations, people can't pay hospital bills, people can't put food on the table. Farmers in Uasin Gishu could not plant maize because they can't afford the cost of fertilizer.
If they had two dams, they would be able to. If they had the Aurora and Kimware dams
Jeff, you're not doing a good job of this.
Dams in Central Kenya. Okay,
Jennifer, please don't say anything.
Okay.
I know you. Yes, can you just let me finish my point?
But we can ask about why the.
You will ask. Just forget it. We've never had dams before, and we've been planting. So
anyway, you need to let her speak as well, though.
Yes,
no, but she's interjecting before I finish my sentence. I haven't even responded to her. Yeah, so let's do this. Let's not do that, Jennifer. I'll give you a chance. Don't interject.
Okay.
So I said it's a cost of living. And the reason why I say that, I'm linking it to the manifesto. So what Kenyans want to hear is when you become my president, what are you going to do about the cost of living? So manifestos have to respond to certain things. So a manifesto is important. People want to know, what are you going to do about unemployment? What are you going to do about the cost of healthcare? What are you going to do about our education system that is currently having challenges? People want to know, what are you going to do about the price of unga? People want to know, what are you going to do about the price of fuel, because it's affecting the cost of matatus, how much you pay on a matatu. People want to know, what are you going to do about the cost of kerosene, because that's what people use to cook. So those are the answers that people want to know. Students want to know the loans given to them as student loans at the universities has remained the same since inception. And the price of the universities has gone up. So your manifesto must respond to what Kenyans want.
But here's the deal.
And then let me finalize on the issue where she said the character of the candidates is important. Of course, the character of the candidate is important, and Kenyans do look at history. And if I might say that I have a presidential candidate who has a track record and who has been seen to be a performer in the past and can do it. On the other side, we have a presidential candidate who has been part of a coup to overthrow the government. He's committed treason. His two colleagues was sentenced to hang. He survived because he was the son of Raila Odinga. He's the same person who broke up his father's political party. He broke up Ford Kenya because his father told him that because you're my son, you're not going to take over, but my vice, who was Kichana Manumalo, must take over. He broke his own father's political party, walked away from his father, and set up NDP, his own political party. This is the same presidential candidate who swore himself in. This is the same presidential candidate that was treasonable, also swearing himself in. This is the same presidential candidate who, at the same time, wanted to mutilate our constitution by leading the BBI process. This is the same presidential candidate who, in 2017, had his supporters in Nyanza destroy ballot materials and attack IEBC officials
so as to
stop the election.
This is the same presidential candidate who was detained after the 82 coup.
Because it committed treason.
Let me have my time, please, Gladys. Yeah, the same presidential candidate who was detained after the 82 coup. This is the same presidential candidate who was at the forefront of fighting for the second liberation of this country, along with his deputy presidential candidate. This is the same presidential candidate who, 2007, was with the deputy president in the same party, and they led this refuting of the elections of 2007, and we know what the outcome of that was, and it was ended up at The Hague. Okay? So let's put things into context. And let us never, never forget the one thing you cannot take away from the people of Kenya, as much as we may like them or dislike them and they have faults, and they is the contribution that they have made to the liberation and the space we have in this country today. And that cannot be taken away from the Right Honorable Raila Odinga at all. His space. He has been detained, his family members have suffered, and his the bigger family has suffered, okay? So let's not take that away from our heroes. He was there, Matiba was there, there are so many of them. Let us not diminish the history of this country and what these freedom fighters from the 60s have done up to today. The deputy president, let us never take that away from our heroes when we celebrate them. And that's why we have Mashujaa Day in this country.
By the way,
Jeff,
Saba Day is tomorrow.
Yeah,
yes, and Saba is tomorrow. And I will never forget that time at Kamakunji. I will never forget how those people were lifted, my father included, and taken to different parts of Kenya. And that is how Ford spread the word of sport. So we have been in this thing. We have witnessed it. So the one thing I will not do, just like I will not take away what the gains that the deputy president and the good he may have done, okay? And I'm not saying that the deputy president cannot and never will be president of Kenya. He is young. He can run again. He can, but at this point, I think that Raila Amolo Odinga deserves his place in the history of Kenya.
By the way, Martha Karua the other day said Ruto's not fit to be president because he's too angry. He looks like he's anamakasiriko sana.
Says the woman who walked out of President Moi, stormed out of Kibaki's government, resigned because she didn't like the way Githongo had unveiled about the corruption in the government that she was serving in. Says the woman who falls out with herself.
Who's extremely principled. Extremely.
All right.
It depends which side of the coin you look at Martha Karua. I know Martha Karua at a personal level, and she's an extremely principled woman. I would walk out of, you know me.
Yeah.
You know that
Okay,
I would walk out on something if I didn't agree.
You know what, Jeff? And so would I. But Jeff,
Yes, and so would Gladys.
so would
Yeah,
I. But
the
Jeff,
boss.
let me tell you, I know Martha too personally. I have a lot of respect for her. But you know what? My greatest disappointment recently was Martha Karua, within this year, was fighting against the mutilation of our constitution by the Raila-led handshake and BBI crew. She was running a lobby group called Linda Katiba, Operation Linda Katiba. She was part of it. How is it that she suddenly suffers amnesia and is working with the person who was mutilating the constitution and agreeing to work with him? And even allows for her to be nominated, not only as a running mate, but already proposed for position of Minister and Justice, double up as a Ministry of, Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, when she knows very well the Constitution does not allow the Deputy President to hold any other position, unless, of course, she plans to get into office, amend the Constitution, and then make herself the Minister of Justice. So you know what? I'm disappointed. This is double speak.
She's using, the boss is, Mheshimiwa is using very strong words. BBI was not mutilating the Constitution, and the Supreme Court has expressed itself on it, okay? It has expressed itself on it. It just said that the promoter should not have been the president, okay? In fact, the Supreme Court has laid out the way that, and personally, and when Raila Amolo Odinga is elected president of the Republic of Kenya with his deputy Martha Karua, I would really want to see the BBI pushed, go ahead. It's not fair that half a country can be locked out and you don't have a leader of opposition, an official leader of opposition. Those are some of the things that we were addressing.
Raila Odinga is the leader of opposition.
He's not an official leader of opposition. And that was what led to the crisis of the 2017 election. You have a split, literally a split down the middle for a country. And it was recognized, and that was why what forced the current president, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, to get into the handshake. So there is no way Martha is mutilating any constitution, and the guidelines and the structure for this referendum has been provided for by the Supreme Court.
You know what, Jeff? I think what you need when we have a break, ask someone to bring the Constitution and the Standing Orders of Parliament. You will see that in the Standing Orders of Parliament, we have an office of the majority, leader of majority.
That's not
and
the leader
we have an
of
office, and we have an office for the leader
of minority.
Can I finish my own sentence?
Yeah, sure.
There's the office of leader of majority, and there's the leader of minority. Leader of majority is the ruling party, or the party that has the highest numbers in parliament, and most likely would usually have the presidency. And then leader of minority is actually the leader of opposition. That's what it means. It's just that they call it leader of minority. Because you're the second largest minority party. And that is the position that ODM held in parliament, and the person who held that position was Honorable Mbadi. And so what happened is, and it's recognized also in the Constitution. So by virtue of the fact that ODM is the largest minority party in parliament, automatically makes their party leader the leader of opposition in Kenya. One of the issues that has been discussed and mooted, and we don't need to change the Constitution for that, is to create an office for the leader of opposition, a proper office, even if they're not in parliament. And
how do we justify paying them? Through which budget?
No, we're just saying that is Raila did not know what to do with himself when he was not inside parliament, because now he was the leader of opposition but outside parliament. But also remember, as a party leader, it's the reason why the Political Parties Act provides the political parties fund to political parties. So there are two parties who got the largest chunk of the political parties fund, which is Jubilee and ODM. That money, which runs into at least minimum of 80 billion, I think it's in the 5 years, it comes to billions. I know that because Wiper was asking for 4 billion or something like that. They didn't get it because Raila kept all of it. That is what Raila should have used to continue to make the opposition party very strong, because opposition is important for any democracy, because they are the ones who keep the government in check. And Raila Odinga did it very well in the first years of his, in between 2013 and 2017. You remember when there was a Eurobond, Raila had a press conference calling it out, flanked by all his MPs. When he thought there was a problem with the IEBC, he did the same thing. When he thought there was something wrong at NYS, he did this. He called a press conference. When he didn't like the way SGR was going, he called a press conference. So actually, he was doing his role, and as leader of opposition, and is very efficient. And so what happened is, until the handshake, until the handshake, Raila went to bed with the government. So he could no longer, he became an impotent leader of opposition.
Jennifer, and
because he was no longer able to keep government in check.
And I think so that's Mahesh's biggest issue.
But the point is that when we know why the handshake took place in March of 2018, we know the trillions of Kenya shillings we were losing from the resist movement, resist with the Migunas and etc. You know, we know, Honorable Sholay knows that every single day there were demonstrations outside the Uhuru Highway.
Yeah, those tear gas Tuesday.
We know that, yes, indeed, treason had been committed. Do you think that as a leader, the President of the Republic of Kenya should have charged Raila Amolo Odinga, who has a chunk, literally half of this country? What was he supposed to do? He had to use Solomonic wisdom, cut the baby in half or give the baby away. All right? Now, we know what we were going through. We know how this country was suffering. And he got into the handshake. Now, the minute he gets into the handshake, we see the dissent from one side of within our own party. We do also know that actually the campaigns started very early for the election of 2022. So a lot of people within Parliament, a lot of members of Parliament and politicians started the campaigns, and I think that's undermining the president. He's going home. He had to serve his 5 terms. And
2 terms.
His 2 terms. He had to serve his last 5 years, yes, as president. And instead of being there, look at Moi, the late President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. Look at how he served as vice president. Look at his humility. Look at his devotion. Okay? When you're second in command, I think humility is an extremely important characteristic of a second in command to anything and anywhere.
Okay, I think also we've been able to make this story of Raila Odinga demonstrating and causing chaos in Nairobi.
Picking a story
as if no, I'm saying we've tried to turn the narrative to sound like a positive narrative. Any statesman, anyone who believes in the rule of law and democracy, what we expect them to do is that if you don't agree with the elections, you don't riot in the streets.
Or you don't have post-election violence like 2007 in the Rift Valley.
Okay, just hold on.
Kill people.
I'm just talking about we were talking about how the handshake came. So let's stick to that and allow me to say my piece, because you have said your piece.
Right.
So I said so what happened is any statesperson, what happens is you lose the election, you go to court, you challenge the election. And in this case, Raila Odinga challenged the election was nullified. And so we were told to go back by the Supreme Court to elections. What did our team do at the time? Dust yourself, get up and go back and campaign. What did he do? He started to tell his people we are boycotting the election. So he actually, had he gone to the elections, he probably would have won at the second election. But instead, he told his people and his strongholds to Jennifer, we were together.
We were together and we won outrightly, and we were going to win the second time.
So
he was not
the only problem is it's hard to judge that election because Raila Odinga's strongholds did not vote because he told them to boycott. Right. And then any statesperson would have said, then he went back to court again to challenge the election. How do you challenge an election that you told your stronghold not to participate in? That is also a very deceptive way of operating. So he went and challenged it again. I can understand the legitimacy of challenging it if you had participated. But if you had called for people not to participate in the election, why are you challenging it again? But he did challenge it, and this time unsuccessfully. And when he challenged unsuccessfully, any statesman will respect the decision of the Supreme Court of Kenya. That is what you do as a leader. You don't disobey court orders. You simply abide by that and wait for your 5 years. But instead, what did happen? He threw tantrums, was on the streets every day, caused mayhem to the extent that the country could not operate. So are you going to say that you are going to create losses in the country until I have my way? Yes. There was the handshake. Hold on.
Handshake changed all of that, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm getting there, Jeff. So yes, we had the handshake, and he stopped throwing his tantrum. So he was calm, he was happy, and what happened? He got big cars, he got security guys, he started to enjoy some state prevalence, he almost became like a co-president, and then everything started going south then. Because they then embarked on a process to change the constitution. If the handshake ended at getting a Raila to stand down and tame him from his violence, that is where the handshake worked, and it should have stopped there. But to carry it forward, to now become a process of changing the constitution, and not just changing the constitution for the sake of changing the economy and the lives of Kenyans. It was in, and we saw that what happened in the change.
The change was it was not going to apply retroactively.
Correct. Change. Yes. You don't know that because it didn't happen. Then what happened is they were just wanted to create the position of prime minister, the position of president, prime minister, and 3 deputy prime ministers. So the whole plot was for Uhuru Kenyatta to serve a 3rd term through Raila Odinga and through this BBI process. He was going to become prime minister. Raila Odinga was going to be president. He was probably going to hold defense, security. President. No,
how
the plan.
Uhuru Kenyatta going to run?
Whose plan was that?
Yes,
whose plan was that?
No, the BBI plan, and I think I've prosecuted this before. The BBI plan was for Uhuru Kenyatta to become the prime minister and Raila to become the president going forward. Thank God for our courts, because then what happened is no less than 3 courts and no less than 16 judges actually ruled on that matter. At each stage, High Court, Court of Appeal, and Supreme Court found that the BBI process was unconstitutional, that it was a 2-man initiative disguised as a popular initiative, and it fell on its face.
Okay, let me
By the time 3 courts decide against you, it was an illegality.
Okay. Jennifer, let me ask you this.
And lastly, but when you say Raila Odinga was fighting for freedom, he was actually fighting for political power. He was jailed he was detained because he committed treason. Jennifer, and in fact, 2 people were hanged.
Let me ask you this, Jennifer. If Azimio does not win the August 9th election, will they concede?
It would depend on this. I mean, that's if you can go to a court. That's how you have election petitions, yes?
Which we disobey by Raila Odinga.
Okay. All right. That's why we have you have the right to go to a court of law. Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming they will, if they are to lose the election, if it's due to irregularities, why should they not go to court? Why should they not?
But obey the court order.
Why should they not challenge it?
Mercy, there was a talk of ballot stuffing. You heard that today, right? Ballot stuffing. I mean, we can't afford a shambolic election.
No, we can't.
With 33 days to go.
Yes, we cannot.
The people who say that assume that Kenyans don't know how elections are conducted. This is how, and like I say, I speak as an authority on this subject. When you say that there's going to be ballot stuffing, it's not as simple as that, Jeff. Let us start and give me exactly 3 or 4 minutes to explain this.
Stuffing is done afterwards.
Yeah? This is what happens. The reason why we now have a maximum of 700 people per polling station is because that 700 ballots fit in 1 ballot paper. Yeah. The reason why we have translucent ballot boxes is because we no longer want to have black boxes. Ballot stuffing used to happen in the past before the Kriegler Commission inquiry and the changes we put in as the Interim Electoral Commission, which I was part of proudly so. And what happened at that time is we asked ourselves, what was causing ballot stuffing? It's because if you had 1 polling station, like Olympic Primary, which had 28 streams, then what would happen is the voting would happen in those streams, and all the ballots would be taken at some point at night, in the evening, for counting to 1 classroom. Now, with the current system, what happens is each stream is now a polling station. You take the ballot boxes there. The ballot box, there is only one ballot box for president, one ballot box for each of the 6 seats. It is transparent. Each of the agents has a color-coded, serial-numbered seal that they seal. They confirm it's empty and seal it. They vote, and the counting happens inside that room. No ballot boxes leave.
Yeah.
So those who are saying that ballot stuffing can happen are thinking, are thinking that it is the pre-changes. They don't realize that that could happen in the Kavuitu Commission. It cannot happen in this. Remember the ballot box is there. All the agents are watching it. Yes. It never leaves there. And the time it will be opened, everyone breaks their own seal and records that they have broken their seal and opened. And when they finish counting the ballots in that room and the results announced in that particular polling station is final. It cannot be changed anywhere else. And the results are put on a form, and they, each agent gets a copy of the result form, the form 34A. They fill it out. And now you can take a picture of it and send it to your party headquarters.
Let me ask you this.
And so where is the ballot stuffing going to happen?
Okay.
And in any case, all the ballot papers, during my time, they were in bundles at the last election. They're in booklets of 50. So what happens is, when the polling station opens, each of the agents allowed to take account of all the ballot papers and all the ballot papers, and it has serial numbers, and you take the serial numbers.
Right.
And furthermore, our ballot papers have 9 security features. It is more secure than a banknote. Who is going to print them? So it's not as easy. That's a conspiracy theory.
Should Kenyans be trusting of the IEBC, Jennifer? You think?
At this point, yes, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be trusting, but that does not mean that issues cannot be raised. And the IEBC must be like Caesar's wife, above reproach. If there are concerns raised, at the end of the day, the IEBC is serving the people of this country. They must address those concerns, and they must be able to assure the candidates, not just the presidential candidates, not the deputy presidential, they must assure all candidates running at all levels. They must be able to assure every concern raised must be addressed by the IEBC.
Okay, and then furthermore,
to the satisfaction of the candidates.
Okay.
Jeff, let's just say this. Remember, ODM is on a panic mode. That's why when you hear Raila saying, I'm not going to participate in the elections if you don't have the money to register at the station, he's preparing actually to lose the election. He knows their laws is imminent, and he's preparing for a handshake or a nusu mukate government. But also, this is the same Raila Odinga, during the party nominations of ODM, they used a biometric kit. How come he's not worried that it would fail during their nominations? Why worry about it now? So you trusted it during your own party nominations. Now you don't trust it. It's doublespeak. There is a panic. And you know what? During the launch of their plan of the Kenya Kwanza team at Kasarani, you will see that there's been a lot of tantrums thrown by our opponents, because actually they want to distract us from talking about state capture. That is why you see them going in a panic mode and causing all these stories. They should tell us Kenya is at risk of being landlocked because they've given out our ports, or attempting to give it out. Kenya is at risk because KEMSA
because of a decision made in some that's another story for another day.
The Auditor General has talked about the KEMSA billion. So you know what's happening now is that they're in a panic mode because they've been exposed for all these things that they have done. Nobody is in a panic
ladies,
mode.
there's a comment. There's a comment here. You guys are very brainy ladies. We'll have to leave it at that.
Yes, we are. And we take it as a compliment.
It is. It is a
yes,
compliment.
we are.
Gladys Chalet.
Thank you for the compliment.
Jennifer Shamala. Thank you so much, both.
Thank you.
It's very educative.
Yes. And then next time, Jeff, I want you to have a timer.
Yes.
And you
better have a timer.
I want a blue light.
I think
you Jennifer has to keep quiet. Red light.
I think you spoke a lot more.
No, you were together before I arrived.
No, for 3 minutes.
You guys were up to
3 minutes.
I don't trust you,
3
Jeff.
minutes.
Don't get up yet. I haven't ended the show.
Oh, you mean we're still on air?
You're still on.
Set the fire on her. That's why. She can't stand to be here with me anymore.
Thanks so much for being a part of JKLive. Thank you, ladies.
Bye. Thank you, Jeff.
Happy Sabbath.